is going to start with a basic shape, and that shape's going to be a circle here. And so right towards the middle of our paper, you want to draw in a circle. I'd say about the size of a small orange, think like tangerine or cutie, is a good size for your sheet of paper there. And as you can see here, I'm keeping my circle very light, really rough and sketchy. I'm just really building up my circle with lots and lots of curved lines. Once you've got your shape in place, next steps we need to add in are what we call guidelines to help us place in some of Hei Hei's features here. And so we're going to hop to the top of our circle, and just very lightly we're going to cut our circle right in half, right down the middle. And this line is just showing us that Hei Hei is going to be facing towards us. Then about 2/3 of the way down towards the bottom of our circle here, we want to lightly sketch across a horizontal guideline. And this line is going to help us with placing in Hei Hei's eyes. And this will give us our basic foundation for Hei Hei, but it looks nothing like it. Right now we have Colorman's lightsaber going through an orange. Not so much that chicken that we know and love today. With this foundation, this first feature we're going to add in for our chicken is going to be his beak here. And so to start Hei Hei's beak, we're going to go right to the middle of where our two guidelines cross. And we'll build up the bottom of his beak first, just adding in this very tiny letter V. And from this letter V, we're going to connect together at the top, just adding in this little rainbow. So right now, it shows like we have this little snow cone kind of sitting here on our paper. Hei Hei does need to be able to breathe here. And so to give our chicken some nostrils, we're going to go to the top, inside of our snow cone, and on either side, we want to draw in a small little oval here. And once you got those nostrils in place, his beak here is going to be the first feature that we want to go back and lock in. For any of my new timers here, whenever we say locking in, that's just really a fancy way we like to say really bold or darken in your favorite lines from those items that we started with. Now, just above Hei Hei's beak here, this is where we're going to be adding in his wattle next. Now, the wattle is just that fleshy piece of skin that hangs over chickens' beaks. It's used for warmth and also to help attract mates as well. And so to build up that wattle, we're just going to hop right above his beak here. And we're going to follow the same rainbow up and around. And if you've ever drawn Pluto or Goofy with us before, I like to think of the shape of his wattle kind of like we're drawing in their ears. Just a couple of stretched out teardrops. And so we're going to go to the left-hand side of our rainbow. And we're going to bring down this really stretched out letter U. Then for the right-hand side of his wattle, we're going to have this one hanging down a little bit lower. So I've added an even steeper letter U on the right here. Now once you've added in those teardrop shapes, his wattle here, next feature we'll go back and lock in here as well. The first Moana film was actually directed by two gentlemen, a man named John Mesker and Ron Clements. Now you might not be familiar with their names, but I'm sure you're familiar with their work, as these two are responsible for directing many other Disney films as well. Prior to Moana, these two were known for directing The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, Princess and the Frog, and their last film that directed before they retired was Moana. Now, since the wattle is that nice shade of red, we're going to shade it in nice and soft on the inside of your teeth. Once you got that wattle in place though, the next feature to add in for Hei, and one of my favorite features of all on him, are those very big expressive eyes that he has. And so to build up his eyes here, we're going to go on this horizontal guideline. And from right between the edge of our circle here, we'll sketch in two very big circles for the starts of his eyes here. Now, really feel free to get really exaggerated his eyes. You want to make sure that they do extend out from that circle here too. Now, when they were developing Hei Hei for this film, he was actually going to be a more serious character, kind of like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, who was meant to guide Moana along her journey. But as they were trying to develop the story, they didn't want Moana to have any sort of guidance on her voyage. And so when they were trying to think of how they wanted to keep this chicken in the film, they were actually kind of at a loss at one point. It wasn't until our CEO, Bob Iger, actually wanted the animators to completely cut Hei Hei out of the film. And so to really make Moana feel a little bit more hopeless, they decided just to lower Hei Hei's IQ, really make him completely useless to Moana. And when they decided to keep him in the film, the animators actually celebrated in the studio by eating fried chicken. I believe it was Chick-fil-A as well. Once you got his eyes nice and dark, we don't want to leave Hei Hei like this here. Otherwise, he's going to look like he's seen some things in Motunui. And so to really wake him up, we are going to give him that classic wall-eyed look, just like Gary the Platypus. And so on the sides of his eyes here, we're going to draw in two small little ovals for his pupils. My favorite part, oh my gosh. And once you got him nice and awake, the next feature to add in for our chicken here are going to be his eyebrows. I want to think of the shape of his eyebrows. I feel like we're building up a couple of candy canes. And so we're going to start just right above his wattle here. And on this left-hand side, I'm going to follow that same curve of his eye. And as I get about halfway up, we'll turn this into a little candy cane, just arching this up right above his left eye there. And the same thing on the right-hand side here too. Just right above his wattle, we'll add one more candy cane on the right here too. And once you got those eyebrows on point, just right below Hei Hei's eyes here, he does have a couple of eye bags. And so to add in those eye bags next, we're just going to go right below each eye. And over here on the left-hand side, we'll start this eye bag by stretching down, stretched out letter J. You can also think of this really as a sideways candy cane, or you can even think of these curves as the Nike symbol as well. Just do it. And make those little candy canes in place. There is another layer to his eye bags. And so right inside of your shape, you want to add in a letter U here on each side. Now, oftentimes, when Ron and John were creating these films, they love to incorporate themselves in their features. And so with Moana being their last film, their cameo was actually in this chicken and a pua. So Ron is this short little stubby man, and so Pua was his caricature, and John is this tall, lanky man, and so he was based off of his look. So now that we got those eye bags in place, next feature to add in for our chicken here is what we call his comb. That's just that fleshy little mohawk at the top of his head. And so to build up that comb, we're going to go right above his eyebrows here. And over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to lightly stretch up. This is very big candy cane. And for the end of my candy cane here, I'm going to tuck this just right along the side of his right eyebrow there. So right now, it should like we just drew in the bottom of a comb for this thing on our paper. We went ahead and kept that nice and light because we do want to add in some texture to this comb. And so on the top of our little candy cane, we're actually carving into our shape here, just adding in some smaller candy canes right on the inside. And feel free to add in as many of these candy canes as you like. For me personally, I like to add in just 4 little candy canes for that texture to his comb here. And if you want to get even fancier with the slices, just to show that his comb is coming out towards us, I'm going to go right above this left eyebrow and just add in one little curve on the left here. Right now, Hei Hei is looking just like a floating head kind of sitting here on a paper. And so the last piece we want to work on for our chicken is going to be a little bit of his neck. And so to build up that neck of his, we're going to go right below his head. And from either side of that center guideline, we're going to stretch down, just 2 stretched out backwards letter C curves, just a couple of parentheses here towards the bottom. Then to add in some feathers here, just like how we added the texture to his comb, you want to go right to the bottom of your curves, and we'll add in a couple more letter U shapes, some letter D's here too. And feel free to get wild with the texture of his feathers too. Surprising enough, Hei Hei here actually does have a voice actor in this film. His voice is done by a man named Alan Tudyk. And he is basically just like Disney's good luck charm right now because he voices many other Disney characters as well. One of my favorite roles he voices is King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. He also voices the Duke of Whistleton in Frozen. In Zootopia, he voices Duke Weaselton in that one. I believe he also voices Nosmore in Wreck-It Ralph 2. And his one before this one was Valentino in Wish. And the pretty ironic thing about Alan Tudyk though is that he actually graduated from Juilliard, this very fancy acting school. Now look at him voicing chickens. Now, once you got his feathers and basil, that's gonna be the last step that you need for your sketches of this chicken. And so this is the time in your drawings when you want to go back in, do some touch-up work, really darken in any lines that might have faded away in the drawing process that you'd love to stand out nice and dark. You do want to add in some more shading. His comb, as well as his eyebrows and that eye bag, are that nice shade of red, just like his Wattle. So I'm going to take the side of my pencil, really use it as a crayon, and I'll softly shade in the areas just right around his eyes and teeth. Once you've got all of that in place, really the last part any artist truly needs to leave on their work before it's complete are going to be your signatures. So make sure you do find a spot somewhere next to your chicken here. And go ahead and sign big and proud. Because you have just learned how to draw your very own portrait of Hei Hei.